Hey everybody, it's Grace, and I thought I'd do a video about the craziest things doctors have told me, or healthcare professionals over the years, about diet, weight loss, weight, and exercise. Now I'm going to go way back to the 1980s. I think the first one that told me the strangest things was when I was 18, I believe, or somewhere around there. And he told me that I was not going to lose weight unless I had a baby. Okay, I don't know how many women have ever heard that one, but yeah. And I think a lot of women have known for years that for some women it's connected, for just some. I'm not a healthcare professional provider, but I do know that for some it is connected to type 2 diabetes. It can be polycystic ovarian syndrome. It can be PCOS, or both, a combination of things. And some doctors do put them on low carb diets. Now that's up to them and their doctor. And they also put them on that medication for type 2 diabetes. One of them, actually, some research shows that it has helped women to get pregnant. So the doctor kind of had that a little bit backwards, And that was one. Okay. And another one I think was more like in the late, that was early 1980s. In the late 1980s, another one, he told me that one was in Texas. Then I moved to Florida, and in Florida, one of them told me that for me to lose weight, not only was I going to have to diet, but I was going to have to exercise. And he acted, that assumption they have, like you don't exercise or something. Well, I told him what I did for a living at the time. I was a student, but I also was an electrician. I was known as that damn female electrician, because I made a lot of money. I've never made as much money since then. That was in the 1980s, as I did doing electrical work, residential electrical work. Yeah, it was piecework, and oh man, contract, made a lot of money. I doubt I could do it today. People after that, they said, "You did it?" But anyway, that's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of exercise, and I told him that, and he says, "Well, that your body's used to, so you have to do more." Okay, how would my body know every day from one day to the next that I'm not getting the same amount of exercise every day, but my body's used to it, so I have to do more? How was my body going to know that? I was recently told that again by a young nurse practitioner, and she said, I'm a homemaker, and she's, I work part-time, and she said, well, you're going to have to exercise more than you would just your usual housework. And I wondered if she knows anything about housework, because it can be a lot. Okay. Now, I've had doctors after that, around that time, let's say maybe in the early 90s, that they don't focus so much on diet, as back then doctors were focusing on going on 500 calorie diets, or these boxed meals that they were distributing. Yeah. But they weren't saying like low carb. Usually it was just, oh, I want you on 500 calories, which we know these days is really bad. And I think for almost anybody it's really bad. And I did 500 calorie diets. I did 800 calorie diets, 1200 calorie diets. Yeah, and they were always trying to cut it down to hardly anything. But I remember one of them telling me that unless I went on his meal plan and stuff, that he sold these box meals, then I could only eat 500 calorie diets. I could only eat 500 calories per day, stuff like that. Okay, yeah, I've got a sore throat, by the way. But at the end of the 1990s, I'd say, there was another one. She was a gynecologist, and she told me that she took a class, a psychology class, and she could tell me from that psychology class that the reason I was overweight was I was keeping the weight on as a shield against men. I was married to Adam at the time. So now she's telling me this, And I'm thinking, you took a class in psychology. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology, double major. But I didn't tell her that because, man, you notice these days, especially these days, you tell a doctor or healthcare professional some way, not just mean, but just to let them know that they're kind of wrong about something. And, oh, man, it's like you just did a major insult. But I can relate to it because here's that woman saying she took a class in psychology, and so therefore she knows, and I have a degree in it, and I'm like, really now? But yeah, so much of them would focus on the weight and not so much on the diet. But then like the 2000s came around. Okay, and in the 2000s, that's when I started hearing a lot more about lowering your carbohydrate intake and not so much about supplements, but always low carb, this or that. I think I've tried low carb. They could try me on low fat. They try me on low protein. It was just everything. But yeah, it was, around that time, like I said, in the 2000s, it was always more of low carb. And now it seems like here, that was like in the double O's, and now this is 2017, they're saying more of, I think it's going that direction of, well, for me, they're saying don't do the low carb. You can eat what you want as long as you do it in moderation, and and I think it's returning to a more, for me, what I've seen is more of it's a combination between how many grams or ounces you eat and the calories. For the diet that my doctor had given me was from the, Diabetic Association or Dietetic Association, both of them. And it was, like I said, more of counting the grams and the how many starches, how many how much protein, how much fat, starches, the fruits, vegetables, and along that line, plus calories. So I don't know. And I've asked doctors, and they said, well, you need to eat a lot more protein. But the diet itself says, doesn't say that. It's a diet. I asked another one, and it was a nurse practitioner, and she said, well, this is the one for everybody. I said, well, that's the problem. It's for everybody. So then she said, well, you just need to go see a nutritionist. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough for this video for now, but I'm curious, what have other people heard? Have you heard? What are your crazy stories about that? Leave them in the comment section below. You can like, share, comment, whatever on this video. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.